Thank you, Wes, very much. He's a PC, I'm a Mac, so that's kind of what happens, I guess. So, at any rate, I'm with Interior Smart Meter Awareness from Kamloops, and I've been speaking around, doing tons of research, talking to lots of people who've been getting these particular devices on their homes, as well as have been experiencing problems with cell phones, things of this nature. They are real problems. I didn't believe most of these people when this started happening, and they started coming to me because I started looking into this smart meter situation and these types of devices situation from a financial standpoint, because I didn't like what I was seeing with there. I thought a little bit of money was being thrown around and things of that nature was happening. Then as I kept doing my research, which is now hundreds of hours, I started coming into seeing that the things started matching with the documents that I was seeing, and things really started to click, which I will get into right now. So, the premise for us, and the premise that, maybe perhaps their science or what Health Canada and so on say, is that we are not electrical, we are electrical. It's an undeniable science, and when you start sending electrical frequencies through human bodies, you cause problems. Okay? And when you start sending these cumulative exposures for lifetimes or 10 or 20 years, that's where the problem is. It's not necessarily about, well, it's so low and it's just this one thing that happens. Now we're starting to blast these frequencies all over the place, and it's not compatible with humans. As we can see here, it's undeniable. Electromagnetism and the foundation of life. You cannot deny that as science. Okay? Again, the entire universe works on this. This is not for peer review. This is not for debate. There's not one scientist over here and another one over there saying this. It's electricity. That is the way it is. So since we are in this universe, we obey those laws. Very basic stuff. Okay, again, the Earth has this same situation. The Earth has its own electromagnetic field and so on. Everything obeys these very basic laws. Again, your body, same thing. This is why a defibrillator works. It shocks you back to life. You are electrical. There's no denying it. You have your own field. Your heart is electrical. They use machines to measure the electricity that comes out of your body. Very simple stuff. You will have trillions of electrical connections in your body. They're very important. They are not to be disturbed. They're not to be messed with. Every single function in your body runs on these. These are going off all day. These are going off in your body right now. You're thinking, you're moving, you're breathing. All of these are simple electrical triggers and functions. Okay? You can see here, you can see even in the language, polarize, conductor, wire-like structure, amplification, voltage sensitive, sodium channels, communication, receptors, triggers, synapses. These are looks at cells. These are specific electrical charges of how a cell works. Positive, negative, very basic electrical language, stuff that pretty much everyone can understand. You'll see measured in voltages and things of this nature. Each and every one of your cells of your body obeys this law. This machine here can't not work. This is a magnetoencephalograph if there's no electricity or magnetism coming out of your body, okay? Measures the magnetic fields that result from electrical activity of brain cells. These very delicate brain cells, and all your cells operate on these exact and precise frequencies that each and one of you is slightly different for each one. And we'll talk about why that's important after. Each one of your cells, a human antenna. Again, this is science. There's no disputing this. All of your cells are human antenna. They're sending and receiving electrical data all the time, adapting to the environment. Now we're starting to take these frequencies and blast them through. And some people will believe it's like the background, or not much worse than the background. This is billions and sometimes trillions of times more than background. This is measured. Background is 0.00000 all the way down to 1. These things are coming all the way down the spectrum and billions of times. So to make a statement that, well, it's like the background, or it's not much worse than the background, doesn't exactly match what the science would say. So this is part of what we talk about. When you are not compatible, this is what happens. You get electrical failure, and what electrical failure in a human is disease. And over time, when you start seeing these cumulative exposures, the only thing that helps you after a while is your immune system. And then your immune system can't stay caught up to it, and this is what starts happening. You start degrading. But now most people don't know why this is happening. They'll say, it's my diet, I'm not sleeping, I'm stressed out. And those can be problems for people. But what happens is they keep exposing themselves to these types of devices. Again, every single one of your functions of your body. So when we start talking about safety code 6 and things of this nature, what that code is actually really trying to say to you is, we are denying that you have any electrical property. This is how smart Health Canada and Industry Canada and the FCC are. This is what they're saying to you right now. It's very difficult for us to believe that Health Canada is going to walk in and deny all the universal laws of the universe to make a code that fits what they want to have fit. This is how your body's going to be operated on a general level, okay? Maximum maybe 50 hertz. You're working, you're moving around, you're doing your things and your chores, whatever in your house. That's about where you're going to be at. Very low hertz. These meters are operating, I think, about 928 or 902 megahertz. This is in the millions of hertz. You're not compatible with that, okay? Blasting that through your body, setting off these functions of yourself, okay? It doesn't work that way. So since we know all this stuff, in our infinite wisdom as humans, these are the things we start to do. We start to use 6 billion hertz phones in our house. Okay? So when we start talking about things like, this technology has been around for a long time, because something's been around for a long time doesn't necessarily mean it's proper, it's safe, and it's good. It shouldn't comfort you that we've been using X or Y for a given period of time. So we start putting these devices to our heads, and we vibrate ourselves at 6 billion times, 12 billion times back and forth. Okay, in these microwave emissions. So if you guys got these phones at your house, and just so you know, when we talk about our groups and groups like ours, we're not just solely against these types of meters just because we're afraid of technology or so on and so on, or we're picking on that aspect on them so they don't go in the house. We are very aware of these other devices and the Starbucks and the cell phones and all these things. Our baby monitors. Now we put our babies on these things. We send microwaves through our children while they are tiny little infants. This is what Health Canada is telling you is safe. Sending microwaves through your children. They want you to be convinced of this. It's okay. You can even see on the little pad there. Those waves mean microwaves. That's what they're telling you. And they're telling you that's safe. We got our kids in school with Wi-Fi. Blasting these frequencies through our children all day in school. Every single day they're at school, the computers are sending these frequencies. We got these industrial strength routers going through our kids. These kids are conductors now. They're being induced by frequencies running through their body. You are also having that happen to you when you use these types of devices. So here's what we look at when we start talking about these meters. These blast entire neighborhoods, okay? There's nowhere else to go. These frequencies are going everywhere. Now the city's talking about, well, a guy's going to be able to drive by in a truck, but they're low-level frequencies, and they're not very harmful. They're powerful enough to make it all the way to a truck. You have these little kids walking by there, or yourselves, or somebody with a pacemaker, things of this nature, frequencies going right through these people, disrupting those natural rhythms and electrical functions of the body, okay? Zero testing for non-thermal effects. They say, well, he didn't heat up like a piece of tissue in a microwave, like Curtis likes to say, and I like to say, so everything's fine. Denying all those electrical properties. So that's why things can be repeatable, because they say, well, this amount of microwatts per square centimeter, nobody heats up yet. But they don't take into effect of how many of these electrical signals have we been disrupting this whole time. And then they'll only test for a few minutes, and they don't account for 5, 10, 20 years exposure, and they don't account for multiple items that people are going to be having in their house. Here's what people will be having at work if they have these Wi-Fi devices, okay? All these things, again, so this is everywhere in our society, and because it's everywhere in our society, doesn't mean it's safe and it's right. It actually means it's only getting worse. And now we want to blanket our entire town on top of everything. On top of everything, the Wi-Fi and all this stuff, now we're blanketing entire towns if people don't have Wi-Fi in their house and they don't own a cell phone and all these things. Now we put these meters in their houses without any choice, really, so that they must be exposed to these types of devices, because some people go to Starbucks or some people want to use the cell phone, and now these people don't have any choice but to be exposed. These are the types of things you start seeing in towns. Cell towers. Okay? I'm not sure where they are in Penticton, but I can guarantee they're somewhere here, because if you get a cell phone reception, this is what's going on. Okay? So we need to be very aware of these types of devices as well, blasting these frequencies through entire towns. Cellular subscriber growth in Canada. This is what we're looking at. These problems are only going to start increasing with these health effects. How come I have tinnitus? How come I have this problem? I can't sleep right. I'm doing everything right, all these things. This is what starts happening. Here's the cell towers in Canada. Our country is blanketed in these frequencies all day, every single day, right now. This is what we're trying to say. We're disrupting all of the electrical signals of everything in the environment all the time. Is it not probably inevitable that we should see some signs of sickness? These are the types of collector hubs and devices that they'll use for other programs, across BC. So if you know anyone that lives outside of Penticton and you're going to go visit your grandma or something, they have BC Hydro, these types of collector hubs that they will be using. Okay, so, or from other utilities that perhaps have that, and all types, again, of these types of devices around. So this is what we talk about. Everyone's, all these guys are against electricity and they're against technology. We're not against any technology. We're here for safe technology. Proper technology the way it needs to be, keeping the things inside the wires where they belong. Not putting you guys inside these electrical equations so you can be induced. Okay, so we start looking at these types of stuff. Health Canada says all this stuff is safe. Cell phone safe, base station safe, cordless phone, Wi-Fi, we got a router, we got smart meters or AMR meters, if you will, cell phone towers, collector hubs, all these types of things. And now we're going to start to also move into, and I've heard that the city of Penticton wants to also do this as well, is wireless smart water meters, which are also going to be pulsing every 7 seconds or 14 seconds, somewhere in that nature. Then we have the AMR meters that go every 30 seconds. Then you have your Wi-Fi, your cell phone, and you're not compatible with any one of them. Do you think there can be a problem? And we're also moving into the age of smart appliances, which soon enough, all your appliances are going to be smart appliances, and now actually these AMR meters, as far as I understand, are not compatible with that. Therefore, at some point, if the city wants to get on board with the latest and greatest in new technology, they're also going to have to upgrade to smart meters. Or, of course, we could just do this. Keep everything in the wires, where they're supposed to be. No induction of anybody, no Wi-Fi in schools because we don't need it. The internet connections are faster, everything. Talk on the phone at your house, on your landline, the way you're supposed to, so you're not involved in an electrical equation. Your kids aren't exposed, things of this nature. So we're not against technology, we just know there's a proper way to do it. Most common complaints, well, you can take a look. We understand these electrical properties. So don't you think people will start having problems with concentration, memory, these electrical impulses, sleep disruption, headaches, all these very common things. And people are walking around having more and more of these problems. They're saying, why does this keep happening? I'm eating right. I'm doing all these things. You're on your phone. You get out of your yoga class or you try and do your meditation and you jump out and you get on your phone. You get out of the gym, you're on your phone. This is why this stuff starts to happen to people, these electrical functions. Electrohypersensitivity. People that basically when they get around these types of devices, they cannot be around them. People will try and say, oh, they're making it up. No. No one makes this type of stuff up. They don't actually really know that this is happening until finally, most of the time, sometimes they click and they say, oh my God, every time I get by these devices, I can't be around, I get sick. And I know they're not making it up either because I have children come up to me and my mom's calling me on the phone crying, saying, why does this happen when my child comes home? Ever since I got this meter. This is what I know. This is what's keeping you safe. Curtis will touch on it a little bit later. A mannequin. This is what Safety Code 6 and Health Canada uses. They test one device at a time for a couple minutes to see how hot you get. Notice the device on the top is a meat probe that's measuring how hot a soapy liquid gets inside of this mannequin, which represents a 6'2", 220-pound male. And this is supposed to tell you that you guys are safe. This Health Canada that you guys should be trusting. Which, by the way, most of the guys that work at Health Canada used to work for Motorola and get all their research from companies like Motorola. So think about that one. They're not accounting as well for this phone here, the frequencies and stuff coming from the towers and things of this nature. So they're missing massive parts of this equation, including the undeniable science that you are electrical. So you're going to ask yourself, and you've probably been asking yourself, why do they have this science and why do these guys have that science? How come there's such a gap? It really only comes down to one thing. Thermal, which means people don't heat up to a degree that Health Canada deems safe, therefore everyone's safe no matter what, versus what we say is say, hey, you're disrupting every single electrical impulse in all of life around these devices. So this is where our science comes from. And they talk about ethics. We don't want to test on people. We wouldn't test on children. That doesn't make sense. Why would we do something of that nature? And we say, okay, that makes sense. You know, we'll give you that much. Of course you don't want to test on children, because you take a look at these cell phones and devices of this nature. This stuff goes right through their skulls and irradiates their brains and their bodies. And this is what smart meters and AMR meters do. Whole body exposures to microwave radiation frequencies all day long. But this is how ethical these types of industry types are. They will market phones directly to babies. This is what's going on in our society today. This store is called Cellular Baby because babies need cell phones. Babies need to be microwave radiated. Clip-on baby monitors. Mothers wearing these devices, the clip-on baby monitors, right around here while they're pregnant. A lot of times, you know, mothers will have 1, 2, 3 kids in a row, these types of things. Cell phones in the pockets, right by their ovaries where their eggs are. Guys have them there. All these frequencies in general. This is what happens. This is why microwaves are chosen, because they penetrate. That's why you could probably get a cell phone call in this building, because it goes through the roof and it goes through everything. But somehow we are to believe that it gets right here and it magically stops and it doesn't do anything to us whatsoever and we are 100% safe. This is what we are told to believe. Now you can see right here, this is what happens. The frequencies go through and they penetrate you, disrupting those signals. Okay, the Russians found with the microwaves. This is why they banned the microwaves. They found degeneration and breakdown of electrical nerve impulses. Interesting stuff. Degeneration and breakdown of nerve electrical circuits. So the circuits in your body are now malfunctioning. That supports what we're trying to say with this electrical failure, resulting in disease. Here we go. They always like to talk about there's never once been a study, there's no proof whatsoever. 33 years, 35,000 kids under the power lines, talking about leukemia increases. I'm sure most of you more mature people in the audience remember this type of stuff, okay? I'm giving you a broad background of what we're talking about here. This is what's basically called dirty electricity. You can see how these light bulbs light up because of these electrical frequencies going through them. Now imagine these children walking around these meters, under these power lines, things of this nature. This is them going to be lit up instead of these light bulbs. Now we're going to talk about some science. Everyone's asking about science. Where's the science? We want proof. And, you know, and whatever proof we give them is never enough, because they say, well, you're only thermal effects. Naval Medical Research Institute, 2,300 studies compiled. Why I like Army documents. They are binary. They want to either know, does it hurt people or does it not? How can we use these to hurt people? How can we protect ourselves? So they compile all these studies and they take looks at this stuff. So we're taking a look at some things that these guys found. The United States Navy, a pretty decently reputable scientific group, I would think you would agree. Impotence, lack of concentration, loss of memory. Now we're going to start talking about this lack of concentration and memory. How about impotence as well? Viagra, #1 selling drug, or one of the top selling drugs. Interesting stuff. Who's using all the cell phones? You see the subscriber growth. Okay? Now you start seeing lack of concentration, loss of memory. All these kids in school with this Wi-Fi, magically they got all the ADD and they have no memory and they can't concentrate. They can't pay attention. Interesting. This stuff matches. How about you ladies trying to lose weight, things of these problems, I can't gain weight, things, hyperthyroidism, thyroid enlargement, altered pituitary function. This is what controls how children grow, how you will grow, how you did grow. These glands that are very sensitive, important, and we're not talking about massive military microwave systems. We're talking about all up and down the spectrum here. Seizures and convulsions, interesting stuff. Okay, central nervous system effects. Changes in the operation of implanted cardiac pacemakers. So now we basically by force put these devices on people's homes with people with pacemakers and hope for the best. How about changes in physiological function? This is what the Navy found. Altered menstrual activity. Okay. Altered fetal development. Decreased lactation in nursing mothers. This is what's been found over 2,300 studies. Here's some more stuff. Bioeffects of selected non-lethal weapons, which is basically microwaves and some other stuff. 100% of the population would be susceptible. Now, what does that actually support? The fact that 100% of the population is what? Electrical, affected by electromagnetic fields and radio frequencies. Here we go. We have DNA breakage from cell phones. Of course, we're told that this doesn't happen because it can't happen with non-ionizing radiation. It's impossible because it doesn't heat up enough to cause problems. Here we have, take a look, 1,600 chest x-rays. I think you guys would agree that that would probably cause a lot of problems. Same as 24 hours on a mobile phone. This is the damage you guys are doing to yourselves if you guys have these phones and these types of devices. This is the science, again, that people have been asking for right here. 3,627 studies done by the Environmental Protection Agency and their reputable scientists. Okay? 574 pages exactly like this, all listing science and studies of where they've shown effects. This is just one page on the central nervous system. Microwave publications, you guys can see that in the corner. Okay? No known studies and effects, as they say. Here's another 8,000 studies. Now we're in about 13 to 15,000 studies already that don't exist, have never existed, and never been done to show anything. Also, we're talking about the immune systems and radiation upon cows, cats, dogs, hamsters, whales, birds, all these things. Why are they affected also? Because they are also electrical. Health Canada, what do they say? After decades of research, there are no demonstrable health or environmental effects from exposure to low-level radio frequency signals. This means that they deny electricity exists. Now, and I'm going to show you something right now. And I'm going to show that your electricity actually does exist with a $12 device that you could probably go buy at Home Hardware or whatever's local in town, that shows all these guys or whoever these scientists were supposed to be that show this we're not electrical in any way. This is a continuity meter, okay? And what this device will do is you put it in your wall and you say, hey, I'm an electrician, I want to know whether there's electricity coming out of here, or how come my lamp doesn't work, is it the bulb, what's happening here? So this device shouldn't do anything if there's no electricity around, okay? We've got a floor here. Now what happens here? Do you guys see that? Why does that light up if there's no electricity? So where's the science? The science is me, and the science is you. And I invite anyone from the opposing panel, the moderator, anyone from the audience who would like to use this. You can also look how it works with copper, because copper is a conductor. Same thing happens. So when these devices start running through your body, these cell phones and things of this nature, they disrupt all those signals. They're so safe that guys that work on the cell towers need to wear these. Do you have one of these? I suggest you buy one. And I'm serious. They're in the foyer. No, that would be probably good. But at any rate, this is how safe. Why, if something's so safe, would someone need to wear a suit of this nature? Okay, and then we'll... I want you to notice the foliage around here as well. Look at how dying and healthy that stuff is. So these types of devices that they're installing, the city, they say about every 30 seconds. So the only thing that would probably be changing
over 2,000
is the amount of pulses per day. This is what you are about to be exposed to on your house without choice for the rest of your life. And you are told it will do nothing to you. Look at the distance away from the meters. They're low level, they don't do anything, nothing's going on, don't worry about it. Once you get like a foot or two away, it's negligible. For the rest of your life. Now we'll take a look at this here. This is Canadian Human Rights Commission. One thing I want to touch upon is the 1,000 microwatts per square centimeter limit. So when Health Canada raises the bar so high, anything can get under it, and then anyone can do math. We're 5 million times below the limit. We're this many thousands of times below the limit. Of course, everything can be that. So that device, when it starts breaking down and it can't measure anymore there, and those are some of the most high-powered and expensive devices for measurement. Those are running somewhere in the 2.5 to 5 range, and you can already see biochemical and histological changes in liver, heart, kidney, and brain tissue. This is from the reputable scientists at the Canadian Human Rights Commission, okay? And there's thousands of other studies that have shown this. Here's, we were talking about the Chief Medical Officer for Vancouver Coastal Health.
You're assuming that there's a huge increase. There won't be. And I think we'll be able to show that.
Hydro is adding up all these microsecond bursts of energy, which are only fractions of seconds. And they add them all up together, and it comes to 2 or 3 minutes a day. And they say, on average, we're only transmitting 2 or 3 minutes a day, when in fact they are transmitting every couple of minutes at a fairly powerful burst of energy. And do you know anything different about that? Can you know?
No. The answer is I can't debate that with you because I do not know. I do not know the specifics. So the answer is I can't debate that with you.
Okay, so as it stands right now, because I have tested it, I have tested a meter, and that is the fact as it stands right now, that the meter does transmit all day, every day. Now what I'm asking you to do is find out for sure, okay?
I'm just curious though, how they can force us to take these things. How impossible is it that they can cut our powers off by forcing us to take something that we...
We've got questions from the audience afterwards. Please hold back any questions at this time. This is a presentation right now.
So within such, the same gentleman and the same guys that our friends over here cited, Mr. John Blatherwick said, if you truly are harmed by this level of radiation, you can't live in a major city. Now let's go back to our declassified military documents, which state, and quoted from them, 100% of the population would be susceptible. Do you guys still want to live in your city? Yes. That's good. Oh, here we have BC's provincial health officer. Clearly some biological effects from electromagnetic frequency radiation. These are the scientists that are saying it's safe, but then over here it's not safe. Well, things are bad, well, they're not so bad. What about the 20-minute cell phone call rhetoric that we always hear? It's like a 20-minute cell phone call. Don't even worry about it. They talk about the heat exposure to the ear, removing the cell phone, and how much that heat will go onto your ear from a smart meter over a given period of time. And they deny the full body exposure. And when you start doing that mathematics, you get multiple times higher than a cell phone. And by the way, a cell phone you can turn off. Smart meter you can't do anything about, ever. They're so safe, in fact, that PG&E in California is removing them due to health effects. But a lot of government people around BC are deciding, let's not take a look at that and let's just keep installing these devices. The plan is for you to get smart appliances to interact with these types of devices. Now, that may not be in Penticton now, but it will be in the future because all these guys are building smart appliances. So now you're going to have 5, 10, 12, 18, what are these devices in your house? Now you're going to add that on top of all these things. So when you start making mandatory meters, perhaps what the young lady alluded to, you get mandatory smart appliances. And then you start charging different rates, and you say, well, if you don't have this, then you're going to have to pay this rate because you're not in the smart grid and you're not smart enough. Okay? Has the city accounted for this as well? Are you guys just going to be putting these meters on and then in 2 years having to spend another $2, $3, $5, $12 million on putting smart meters on now to be compatible, changing meters all the time? Who does this make money for? Particular companies, perhaps, that sell meters over and over and over again. The most profitable industry, number one, network and other communications equipment. This is a taxpayer-subsidized profit grab. Get your city councils, get the legislative assembly of the province to buy up all this stuff so we can funnel money into these companies when we could just actually have our old meters, or we could say, you know what, they're not making the analog meters anymore. Let's build a factory and make them and funnel money into our economy. Oh, number three industry, pharmaceuticals. I'm sure if it is that I'm correct that there will be health effects, they won't mind this either. Home safety liability from insurance and fires. Curtis is going to touch on this more about the technical data. Okay, this is happening all over the globe. The utilities and the meter manufacturers deny it because they say, oh, we only own the meter. The rest of the house is your responsibility. You must have had old wiring. Well, why are you going and installing these things on houses with old wiring if you know there's a risk, if you've seen a fire happen? They always blame it on you. The utility walks away and your insurer walks away. Call your insurer and get something in writing. You won't get it. I guarantee it. I've had hundreds of people do it. They don't get anything. More fires. This is globally. More fires. Where did that fire start, perhaps? That looks like a smart meter to me. More fires. Fires, fires, fires. Okay? And these aren't different papers from the same place. More fires, more fires. Utility always denies it. Fires, fires, fires. Okay? Power surges destroying the meters as well. Oh, you get no problem. All the meters get destroyed. You guys get to pay for more. Electronics on the fritz, same things. Your computers, TV, sending this frequency through. Now, what about you? You being on the fritz from this stuff, okay? The environment, the money, and the bees. Okay, you guys are probably very dependent on bees, perhaps maybe more than anyone in Canada. Okay, they do studies where they show how these affect the bees. How do bees work? Electromagnetics. Okay, so when you start putting this stuff around it, you distort everything. You're going to see this start happening more and more often. Now, if this is not the case, okay, maybe that's it. But we can see it here in the science of how people guys are going around doing this. And if it's not the case, we better be very sure it's not the case because we can't afford to let CCD keep happening, colony collapse disorder. Okay? We're talking about a $900 million a year industry. You guys will know this more than probably anyone in the province. We're voting against the meters. We don't want them across the province. They say, too bad you're getting them. Now, we can talk a little bit later on, or you can talk to me after as to why that's happening. This has already happened. Communities all over. 33 said, we don't want them, including Victoria and other places. Province says, too bad you're getting them. You do not have a choice. Democracy has now disappeared in Canada. So who do we trust? Who do we trust our children's legacy to, our legacy to, our province to, okay, for safety, money, privacy, all this types of stuff? Are we trusting Health Canada still? Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. Lead, DDT, pesticides, asbestos, prescription drugs, tobacco, chlorine, trans fats, mercury fillings. So when we start hearing this stuff, the safety standard's here and we're underneath it, so everything's okay. I don't get excited about that. I always wonder because of this track record. One is enough. All of these, including more, and now we have this. They have dropped the ball, and it's not time to add more of these devices, and it's time to start taking them away, and you guys need to start doing that personally with your cell phones and things of this nature. Thank you very much, and now Curtis is next.